There are few nations on the planet that are as widely misunderstood as Iran. When people picture it, they often visualize endless stretches of dry desert. Others might only think of the political situations they see in news headlines. But what is the actual reality? It is a completely different world than you might expect. Iran is a land where the remnants of ancient empires display architecture that defies logic, a place where towering volcanoes watch over lush, emerald-green forests, and where mysterious islands bleed crimson red into the surrounding ocean. In this episode of Vistas Revealed, we are going to take you on a journey to the most spectacular locations in Iran. However, before we reveal these specific destinations, there are a few surprising facts you really need to know. These truths will fundamentally shift the way you perceive this nation. And some of these facts? They are so obscure that even many locals living in Iran aren't aware of them. Let's kick things off with a statistic that is truly extreme. Iran holds the record for the hottest land surface temperature ever measured on our planet. And yet, somehow, life finds a way to endure here. Tiny microbes cling to the salty crust. Nomadic groups survive on the fringes of this harshness. And the wind has sculpted the terrain into formations that resemble the ruins of an alien civilization. But here is a fact that is perhaps even more shocking. While the southern regions of Iran are among the driest places on Earth, the north is actually home to a rainforest. Yes, you heard that right, a rainforest. The Hyrcanian forests, which run along the southern edge of the Caspian Sea, date back over 50 million years. This makes them even older than the Amazon rainforest. And at one point in history, these trees covered most of the northern hemisphere. Today, they only exist in a thin corridor shared between Iran and Azerbaijan. These woodlands are so biologically diverse that UNESCO has recognized them as one of the few remaining ancient broadleaf forests left in the world. But there is more to discover. Iran experiences 4 distinct seasons, all occurring at the exact same moment. In the winter months, you could be skiing down the slopes of Mount Damavand, which stands as the highest volcano in all of Asia at over 18,000 feet. While at the very same time, just a few hundred miles to the south, travelers are sunbathing on the warm islands of the Persian Gulf. How is such a contrast possible? It is because Iran encompasses a massive range of climates, from snowy alpine peaks to humid subtropics and scorching deserts, all contained within one border. Now, let's consider the sheer size of the place. Iran is the 17th largest nation globally. Its landmass is larger than France, Germany, and the United Kingdom combined. This immense size creates space for incredible natural diversity. For instance, the Caspian Sea in the north is technically the largest enclosed inland body of water on Earth, often described as the world's biggest lake. The Zagros mountain range extends for nearly 1,000 miles, hiding countless secluded valleys and traditional tribal villages. And the Iranian coastline along the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman stretches for more than 500 miles, much of it remaining wild, pristine, and breathtaking. However, it isn't just the nature that catches visitors off guard. Iran is also a powerhouse of human civilization. It possesses one of the oldest continuous cultural histories in the world, with urban centers that have existed for more than 7,000 years. At the height of its power, the Persian Empire spanned from the Balkans all the way to India, standing as the largest empire the world had ever witnessed up to that point. To this very day, the influence of Persia is woven across Asia, seen in everything from architectural styles and language to garden design and the study of stars. Here is another fascinating twist that fewer people know about. Iran possesses the most extensive network of underground aqueducts in the world, known locally as qanats. These ancient feats of engineering, some dating back 2,000 years, continue to transport fresh water to isolated villages using nothing but gravity without a single pump. Collectively, these tunnels run for thousands of kilometers beneath the arid deserts and rugged mountains. This system is one of the primary reasons ancient Iranian cities could flourish in such dry environments long before modern plumbing existed. But modern-day Iran is not frozen in history. The capital city, Tehran, supports a population of over 13 million and boasts one of the busiest subway networks in the Middle East. It is a city defined by contradictions, where you see women in colorful headscarves walking past gleaming glass towers, and street vendors selling saffron rice right next to luxury shopping centers. Iran also holds one of the highest concentrations of cultural heritage sites in Asia, with 27 UNESCO World Heritage Sites to its name. That is more than Japan has. That is more than Egypt has. Yet, despite this, it receives only a tiny fraction of the tourism numbers that those other nations enjoy. Most global travelers simply don't realize what is waiting here. They aren't aware that early algebra was developed in this region, or that Persian carpets are still regarded as the finest quality rugs on the planet, or that ice cream was likely invented here, created using underground storage pits for snow mixed with rosewater more than 2 millennia ago. And here is something even more unusual. There is a village in Iran where residents still make their homes inside caves, not as a historical exhibit, but as functioning, modern dwellings. We won't spoil the surprise just yet. We will take you there later in this video. But first, let's begin our journey to Iran's most stunning wonders. From luminous islands to concealed fortresses, icy volcanoes to lush green settlements, you are about to witness a side of Iran that most people have never even dreamed of. And by the time we finish, you might just find yourself planning a trip. We begin with Iran's largest island, a place that defies expectations. Qeshm Island is located in the Persian Gulf, situated just off the southern shores. But this is not your typical tropical beach getaway. Instead of luxury resorts and rows of palm trees, Qeshm presents a raw, alien-like landscape. This is where you will discover the Valley of the Stars, a labyrinth of warped rock pillars that look as if they were carved by visitors from another planet. According to local folklore, a star once crashed here, shattering the Earth upon impact. Geologists, however, explain that it is the result of thousands of years of wind and erosion. Nearby lies Chaku Canyon, a tight gorge made of sandstone featuring deep, carved passageways, some so narrow that only one person can squeeze through at a time. When the rains come, water gathers in natural stone basins, providing a lifeline for the small desert creatures that live here. The island also hosts the Hara mangrove forests, where salt-tolerant trees grow directly out of the ocean and herons hunt during the low tides. It is recognized as one of Iran's few UNESCO geoparks. And the most astonishing aspect? This massive island, which is over 80 miles long, remains largely untouched by mass commercial tourism. But we are only just beginning our tour, because right across the water sits a volcanic island, complete with blood-red shorelines and hills painted in rainbows. Viewed from the sky, it looks as though an artist spilled their paint bucket into the ocean. Hormuz Island, a quick boat trip from Qeshm, is arguably one of the most colorful locations on the planet, and certainly one of the strangest. The soil found here is incredibly rich in minerals, particularly iron oxide, which dyes the landscape a vivid, deep red. On the red beach, the ocean waves crash against crimson sands, turning the coastline into a scene that looks like it belongs on the surface of Mars. But red is not the only hue you will see. Travel inland, and you will encounter hills shaded in yellow, orange, white, and even purple, all created by centuries of volcanic shifts and mineral deposits. It is no wonder that geologists refer to this place as the Rainbow Island. One of the most unique features is the edible soil. Yes, the locals actually utilize the red earth as a spice in their traditional cooking. And yet, despite these dreamlike landscapes and its geological significance, Hormuz is virtually unknown to the world outside of Iran. The entire island covers only about 26 square miles, meaning you can easily see it all in a single day. But do not let its small size deceive you, because our next destination is far more intense. We are traveling deep into the heart of the desert, to a location where temperatures have broken global records. This isn't just the hottest desert in Iran. It is the hottest spot ever documented on Earth. That is not the air temperature, that is the heat of the ground, hot enough to fry an egg directly on the rocks. But the real mystery lies elsewhere. Theoretically, nothing should be able to live here. Yet, scientists have discovered life microbial organisms that attach themselves to the salt and stone. This finding has sparked new theories about life on Mars, as the Lut Desert looks eerily similar to the Red Planet. This desert is more than just hot, it is surreal. The Kandovan Plateau is a colossal field of black basalt volcanic rock where the heat accumulates like a pressure cooker. And to the east, the Kalutes rise from the sand like the ruins of a forgotten city. Gigantic ridges carved by the wind that stretch on for miles. There is no shade to be found, no water sources, no permanent towns, and yet this extreme landscape attracts geologists, filmmakers, and adventurers from every corner of the globe. Why? Because there is simply nowhere else that looks like this. And now, we move from a lifeless, arid land to a place where civilization has thrived for thousands of years, using only mud, bricks, and ingenious design to survive the desert heat. Kerman might appear quiet at first glance, but it serves as the gateway to some of Iran's most peculiar landscapes. Sitting on the edge of the Lut Desert, Kerman is one of the region's oldest cities, with origins stretching back over 4,000 years. It was a vital stopover on the Silk Road and remains famous today for its carpets, pistachios, and unique architecture. The centerpiece of the city is the Ganjali Khan complex, a magnificent blend of a bathhouse, a mosque, and a market bazaar built during the 17th century. Its intricate ceiling mosaics and sunken bathhouse are among the best preserved examples in the entire country. But here is the detail that many travelers overlook. Kerman is the launching pad for exploring the Kalutes, those strange ridged formations in the Lut Desert we mentioned. They are located just 95 miles from the city, yet they feel like a completely different solar system. But the desert isn't the only place where humans have adapted to extreme conditions. Next, we travel to a city constructed entirely from adobe clay, where towers do more than just stand tall, they actually catch the wind. In the center of Iran, where the desert sun beats down relentlessly for over 300 days a year, lies a city that mastered the art of survival long before air conditioning existed. Yazd is famously known as the city of windcatchers. These tall, chimney-like structures, called badgirs, cool the houses by trapping even the slightest breeze and channeling it down into the underground rooms. It represents one of the oldest passive cooling technologies in the world. But that is merely the start. Yazd is also home to one of the most ancient Zoroastrian communities still existing today. Their sacred fire temple houses a flame that is said to have been burning continuously for more than 1,500 years. The city itself is a labyrinth of mud brick alleyways, rooftops, and concealed courtyards. Seen from above, it resembles a rolling wave of sand-colored domes extending to the horizon. What makes Yazd even more remarkable is its subterranean water network. The qanats, tunnels dug by hand, have provided water for over 2 millennia, relying solely on gravity. And while tourists often focus on Iran's grand mosques and royal palaces, Yazd represents quiet genius. It is about innovation. It is about survival. But now, we are heading to a city celebrated for its poetry, roses, and one of the most spectacular shrines in the Islamic world. Shiraz is not merely a city, it is a concept. For centuries, it was renowned throughout the Islamic world as the center of poetry, gardens, and wine. Even today, that reputation endures. This is the birthplace of Hafez and Sa'di, two of the most beloved poets in Persian history. Their tombs are not silent monuments. They are vibrant gathering spots where locals still come to recite verses and leave handwritten notes among the flowers. But Shiraz offers more than just literature. The Nasir al-Mulk Mosque, often referred to as the Pink Mosque, is one of the most photographed structures in Iran. Every morning, the sunlight streams through the stained glass windows, painting the prayer hall in a kaleidoscope of colors. It looks like a special effect, but it is completely real. Nearby, the Shah Cheragh shrine glows intensely from the inside. Its walls and ceilings are coated in millions of tiny mirror tiles, designed to scatter light like a massive diamond. No camera can truly do it justice. And beyond the religious sites, the city is filled with gardens of roses and cypress trees, echoes of ancient Persian design that later influenced the gardens of Mughal India. But to truly grasp why Shiraz once commanded empires, you have to step outside the city limits and walk among the ruins of a civilization that once governed the known world. This was not just a palace, it was a declaration of power. Persepolis was the ceremonial capital of the Achaemenid Empire, one of the grandest empires in human history. Built more than 2,500 years ago by Darius the Great, it was designed to impress and to intimidate. The entrance is still protected by the Gate of All Nations, flanked by colossal stone bulls. From there, a grand staircase leads to immense halls that were once lined with gold and silver, now bare, but still hauntingly majestic. One of the most striking features? The intricate carvings. Dozens of delegations from every corner of the empire, Ethiopians, Babylonians, Indians, Greeks, are depicted bringing tribute to the king. It serves as a visual reminder that Persia was once a superpower that stretched from the Balkans to the Indus River. But it all collapsed in 3030 BCE, when Alexander the Great burned the complex to the ground during his conquest. Some claim it was an act of revenge. Others suggest it was an accident, fueled by wine and victory celebrations. Either way, what remains today is breathtaking. And while Persepolis displays ancient strength, our next stop reveals something different, a city of perfect symmetry, exquisite tiles, and architecture so flawless it was once nicknamed half the world. Isfahan does not shout for attention. It mesmerizes you. At its core lies Naqsh Jahan Square, one of the largest public squares on Earth, ringed by mosques, palaces, and marketplaces. The proportions are so balanced and intentional that many architects regard it as a masterpiece of urban planning. The Shah Mosque, constructed in the 1600s, features soaring minarets, 7-colored mosaic tiles, and a dome with an echo so perfect it amplifies a whisper. Not far away stands the Sheikh Lotfollah Mosque, smaller, but even more refined in its detail. It was built not for the general public, but for the royal family, and the quality shows. Inside, a single beam of light moves across the dome throughout the day like a celestial clock. And on the outside, the tiled surface shifts color depending on the angle of the sun, transitioning from cream to gold to a soft pink. Across the square is the Ali Kapı Palace, featuring a music room with walls carved specifically to enhance acoustics. And then there is the COC Pole Bridge, a marvel of 33 arches that spans the river. At night, it transforms into a social hub, illuminated, lively, and full of music. But Isfahan is more than just a tourist stop. It is a blueprint for elegance. Next, we head north, to a quieter town where elegance takes the form of traditional homes carved in stone and built around the concept of silence. If you want to understand how wealthy Persian families lived 200 years ago, this is the place to visit. Qeshm is famous for its historical mansions, particularly the Tabatabaye and Boruherdi houses. These are not crumbling ruins. They are pristine time capsules. These are carefully preserved estates with stained glass windows, windcatchers, and subterranean chambers that kept the air cool during the scorching summers. Many feature multiple courtyards, each one engineered to manage light, privacy, and temperature. Some were even constructed with secret escape tunnels and indoor water channels connected to the city's qanat system. But Qeshm is not just about the houses. The Sultan Amir Ahmad bathhouse offers a glimpse into traditional Iranian bathing culture, with its domed ceilings and turquoise tile work. You can even climb up to the rooftop, where the clay domes provide panoramic views over the old city. Qeshm is also renowned for its rosewater, which is still distilled in the nearby village of Qamsar every spring, using methods that haven't changed in centuries. And it is just a few hours' drive from Tehran, Iran's modern capital. But don't expect another quaint historic town, because next we enter a metropolis of glass towers, smog, expressways, and unexpected depth beneath the noise. Iran's capital is chaotic, loud, and massive, home to more than 13 million people. But beneath the traffic jams and the skyline, Tehran holds stories that most visitors never get to hear. Start with the Golistan Palace, a complex from the Qajar era filled with mirrored halls, royal thrones, and mosaic-covered courtyards. It serves as a reminder that Tehran wasn't always the capital, but when it took the title, it aimed for grandeur. Then there is the National Jewelry Treasury, where you can find crowns, swords, and a globe crafted entirely from emeralds and rubies. It is only open a few days a week, and the security is tighter than most banks. Outside, the Yazd Tower marks the gateway to the city, a fusion of modern design and traditional Persian architecture. And rising above it all is the Milad Tower, one of the tallest structures in the world at 1,427 feet. But what most people don't realize, Tehran sits at the foot of a mountain range, and on a clear day, you can see a snow-capped volcano looming over the city. That is where we are going next, to Iran's highest peak, a place of myth, science, and extreme altitude. It isn't just the tallest mountain in Iran, it is the tallest volcano in all of Asia. Mount Damavand rises to 18,406 feet, dominating the Alborz mountain range and the northern skyline of Tehran. On a clear day, it is visible from over 60 miles away. But Damavand is more than just a peak. It is a symbol. In Persian mythology, this mountain was the place where the evil tyrant Zahak was chained, and it features prominently in the Shahnameh, Iran's national epic. Today, it attracts both mountain climbers and scientists. The summit often emits a slight steam, a reminder that it is dormant, not extinct. And while it is blanketed in snow for most of the year, volcanic sulfur vents dot the slopes. Climbing Damavand is no easy feat. Altitude sickness can strike quickly. But in the summer, the lower trails turn green and wildflowers bloom around the ancient lava flows. The mountain has its own climate, its own legends, its own dangers, and once you descend, you aren't far from something completely different: castles. cloud forests, and valleys where assassins once ruled from stone fortresses in the sky. At first glance, it looks like a peaceful mountain valley, but high above the cliffs lies one of the most mysterious fortresses in Iranian history. Alamut Castle, perched at 6,560 feet above sea level, was once the stronghold of the Assassins, a secretive Ismaili sect that operated in the 11th and 12th centuries. From this vantage point, they controlled a vast network of hidden castles, striking fear into kings and caliphs across the region. The ruins are now accessible via a steep hike, offering panoramic views over the Alamut Valley, famous for its deep canyons, almond trees, and fog-filled mornings. Nearby villages preserve a quiet, traditional way of life. Some residents still bake bread in outdoor ovens, and children walk for miles just to get to school. It is isolated, rugged, and unforgettable. But if you descend from these mountains and head north, something surprising happens. The terrain shifts, the trees become dense, and suddenly, you are in a world that feels more like Southeast Asia than the Middle East. This is not the image most people conjure up when they think of Iran. On the southern edge of the Caspian Sea, the landscape flips entirely. Gone are the deserts and the stone. Here, it is all rice paddies, palm trees, and misty hills. The Mazandaran and Gilan provinces sit sandwiched between the Alborz Mountains and the sea, forming a lush, subtropical region that feels like a different country altogether. Villages here are built on stilts to survive the damp ground. The air is thick with humidity. Markets overflow with smoked fish, pickled garlic, and tea grown on the nearby slopes. And the Caspian Sea itself? It is the largest enclosed inland body of water on Earth, covering 143,000 square miles. On hot summer days, locals crowd the beaches in cities like Ramsar and Bandar Anzali. But if you turn inland, you'll find forests, waterfalls, and ancient cemeteries lost in the greenery. But it gets even older, because deep within these woods are trees that predate human civilization. They have stood tall for tens of millions of years, and they are waiting just a few miles away, in one of the last surviving ancient forests on Earth. These trees are older than the last ice age. The Hyrcanian forests stretch along the southern coast of the Caspian Sea, covering over 21,000 square miles across Iran and Azerbaijan. They have existed for more than 50 million years, making them one of the oldest surviving temperate forests on the planet. In prehistoric times, forests like this covered much of Europe and Asia. Today, this is one of the last places where that ancient world still lives on. Inside, you will find oak, beech, hornbeam, and species found nowhere else on Earth. Birds migrate through this corridor. Leopards still roam the higher elevations, and fog clings to the forest floor like a whisper from the past. UNESCO designated the Hyrcanian forests a World Heritage Site in 2019. But they are still relatively unknown, especially compared to rainforests in South America or Southeast Asia. Trails here are often muddy. The weather changes fast, but the air is rich with oxygen and the scent of wet leaves. And hidden deep in these hills is our next destination on Vistas Revealed. A fortress built inside the jungle, once lost to time and now slowly being reclaimed by nature. You don't see it at first. You hike through the trees, climb old stone steps, and then, suddenly, it appears. Rudkhan Castle, hidden in the Green Mountains of Gilan province, is one of the most impressive fortresses in Iran. Built during the Sassanid era and expanded in the 11th century, it sits at 2,300 feet above sea level. Its walls stretch for over 4,900 feet and connect 42 watchtowers, making it feel like a miniature version of the Great Wall, but covered in moss, mist, and forest. Today, reaching Rudkhan takes about an hour of uphill hiking. past waterfalls, streams, and jungle-like terrain. But the reward at the top is massive. But now we leave the forests behind. Because up ahead lies a legendary village built directly into volcanic rock, where families still live inside the caves. Some places are ancient ruins, others are living communities. Kandovan is both. This village, located in East Azerbaijan province, is famous for its cone-shaped homes carved directly into volcanic rock, the result of ancient lava flows from nearby Mount Sahand. Unlike similar sites in Turkey's Cappadocia, people actually still live in these rock dwellings. Not as museum pieces, but as functional homes, many passed down through generations. The stone acts as natural insulation, staying cool in summer and warm in winter. Many homes have multiple floors, carved vertically into the stone cone. Some even have electricity, running water, and Wi-Fi all inside 700-year-old cave walls. There is also a natural spring believed by locals to have healing properties, especially for kidney issues. Visitors fill bottles to take the water home. Kandovan isn't large, just a few narrow paths winding through the rock formations. But every angle looks like a set from a fantasy film. And just a short drive away lies a city that helped shape Persian identity in the northwest, a cultural hub, a historic crossroads, and a place that once rivaled Tehran itself in influence. For centuries, Tabriz was the beating heart of northwestern Iran. It was the capital of multiple dynasties, the starting point of Silk Road caravans, and a melting pot of cultures: Turkic, Persian, Armenian, and more. Its most famous site is the Tabriz Bazaar, one of the largest covered markets in the world and a UNESCO World Heritage Site. With over 4 miles of interconnected corridors, it is not just a place to shop, it is a city within a city. The architecture is stunning: brick vaults, arched ceilings, traditional caravanserais, and light streaming in through centuries-old openings. You will find spices, carpets, copperware, and tea houses buzzing with life. Tabriz is also known for the Blue Mosque, once called the Turquoise of Islam. Though heavily damaged in an earthquake, its remaining tilework hints at its past glory. And beyond the city lies the Azerbaijani plateau, leading to the final stop on our journey. A lake that once dominated the region, but now tells a very different story. It was once the largest saltwater lake in the Middle East. Now, it serves as a warning. Lake Urmia, located between Tabriz and Urmia city, used to cover over 2,000 square miles, almost the size of Luxembourg. But over the last few decades, the lake has shrunk by more than 80% due to dam construction, irrigation, and climate change. The result? Vast salt flats stretch where water once shimmered. Old piers now stand stranded in the middle of cracked earth, and what water remains is often blood red, caused by salt-loving algae and bacteria. Still, Urmia remains visually striking. The salt creates bright white crusts around the shoreline, and flamingos occasionally return during wet seasons. Efforts are underway to revive the lake, including redirected river flows and conservation plans, but the outcome is uncertain. And that is what makes it unforgettable. And with that, our journey through Iran on Vistas Revealed comes to an end. We have seen deserts that defy life, forests older than civilization, and cities built to outsmart the sun. But Iran does not fit into one single story. It is not just ancient or modern, not just dry or green, not just one culture or one landscape. It is all of them at once, layered, complex, and often contradictory. And even after visiting all these places, one thing becomes clear. You could spend a lifetime here and still feel like you are only just beginning.